an authentic relating series, and this is specifically focusing on radical honesty. And we have Stephanie Dickinson, who's also from Bali. She's going to be leading this, and Stephanie has been a part of every single festival since the beginning. She's literally so incredible. She's the lead authentic relating facilitator in Bali. She actually taught me authentic relating, and she teaches people all over the world this beautiful skill of conscious communication and how to hold space and how to feel heard and how to really see other people and be seen and feel heard and actually express in ways that people can fully resonate with. And so Stephanie is here today to share us the art of radical honesty. And so with that, Stephanie, thank you so much for being here again. You're amazing. And welcome to the Relating Festival.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. Thank you for that introduction. I love being here, obviously. This is such an amazing group. I love what's been created here. I love the community. I love what's on. And I have to say, I'm especially excited for this one because the theme is relationships and the heart of relating. And that's what I'm into. It's like the heart and the art of relationships. And I'm so passionate about that. So I'm so happy to be here. I can't wait to share what's in store. But before I do that, I recognize that you've been attending different speakers and talks. So I just want to take a moment for all of us to kind of take a little breather here together and like let us have a moment with ourselves. So I'm just going to invite everybody, if it feels good to you, before we get into anything else, to just pause, to take pause. And maybe that means you want to like look away from your computer screen for a minute. Maybe you want to close your eyes and take a deep breath. Just take that big breath in and then let it all out. Whew, exhaling it out with a sigh or a sound. If it feels good to you, you could put maybe a hand on your chest or a hand on your belly. Give yourself a hug. Doing what makes you feel connected to yourself, present with yourself, right here, right now. Keep breathing, allowing those breaths to be a bit fuller, longer, and deeper. Taking these moments to integrate everything that you've learned and everything you've participated in so far. It's a little bit like a shavasana after a yoga practice, allowing it to be integrated before we move into anything else. Take the next 30 seconds or so to scan your body. Maybe noticing how your physical body feels right now, what's alive in your body, noticing what's alive inside, any sensations, any feelings you're noticing, dominant thoughts, whatever's there, just taking a moment to scan your body, your system. And keep breathing. And while you're here in connection to yourself, I invite you to do two things. The first one is you can say this in your head, or you can even say it out loud to yourself. Please say, I welcome you. You are welcome here. I welcome you. You are welcome here. Just really giving yourself that acknowledgement that you're here, you're part of this, you're welcome, you're included. And then the second invitation is to thank yourself. Thank yourself for your willingness to be here, to participate in a festival like this, to share yourself, to expand yourself, to learn new things. Not only does this serve you, this serves the people in your life, and this has a massive positive ripple effect from here on out. So please thank yourselves for your presence, for being here, for doing this work, for participating in life like this. And then again, you can take a full breath in and let it go. Whew. In the next moment, you can start to come back to your physical space and maybe just slowly opening your eyes for a moment, taking in the room around you. Maybe you'll glance over at the screen, seeing us here with you. Maybe glancing away if it's too much. Just taking this slowly at first. Just moving at a slow pace right now. Notice if your body is calling for any particular movement or attention. I'm noticing a bit of tension in my shoulders, so I'm just going to roll those out. Kind of twisting, stretching. You can give yourself a little mini massage. I'm going to ask everyone just to have your hands up on screen and just to shake them out, almost like you're flicking water off of your fingers. Yeah, we're just going to shake off anything that we don't need while we simultaneously bring more of ourselves, more pieces, more parts, more fragments of ourselves online into wholeness, into alignment. Get your arms involved, start shaking your arms. I'm going to invite you, as it feels comfortable for you, to stand up. There's no pressure to stand if you're not able to, but if you can, I invite you to stand up, keep shaking those arms and hands. And then allow your shoulders to get involved. Whew. Maybe you'll start bouncing a little bit in your knees. Even if you're sitting down, you can still be shaking your arms if it feels good, if it's good for your body, if it's feeling right. Keep shaking your arms and hands and those shoulders, and then pick up one foot and kind of shake it out. You can hold on to a ledge or a side of something if you need to. Shake out that foot, then shake out that whole leg. Woo, just kind of kicking it out, shaking it out, and then we're going to switch other foot, other leg, kicking and shaking, and then get those hips involved, get that booty involved, wiggling, shaking. Woo. Keep those arms going, keep the legs moving, everything starting to jiggle, shake, and wiggle, shaking it out. Some of you might know the Tantra practice of shaking. It's a little bit like this. This is kind of a funkier version, but it has the same effect. If it feels good, you can actually start to move your pelvis like forward and back, like you're tilting it, almost like almost like a thrust, like that kind of action forward and back. You can move that. That can help move a lot of energy and integrate as well. So keep doing that. Keep breathing as you do this. Whew, I notice that my heart rate's up. I'm feeling way more energy in my system. I'm feeling way more present with myself and actually with all of you as I do this. I feel like more of me's here. I'm going to kind of wiggle my shoulders, and then I'm going to get my head involved. I'm going to move my head first slowly. I don't want to hurt my neck, just taking care. And then I'm wiggling my head, shaking my head and neck. Ooh. Rolling it out or shaking it if that's comfortable for your head and neck. Shaking it out. We're going to do a little power session for 20 seconds. We're going to do max levels of shaking, shimmying, and wiggling, okay? So every part of you is going to be like moving, shaking, wiggling, okay? Ready? 20 seconds starting now. Just go for it. You can jump up and down. I'm going for the jumping and shaking combined. Even if you're sitting, you can still be moving your arms and flicking those fingers like you're flicking water. You can wiggle those legs, those toes, those feet. Woo, we got 10 more seconds. Yeah. Woo, I welcome you for the last 5 seconds to bring in sound. Maybe you want to just go, ah. Maybe you want to make some funny noises. Anything. Let your voice get involved. Bring it out. Woo, awesome. Beautiful. And we're going to come back to the screen with this energy. amazing. Woo! I'm feeling like a whole new me. Hi there. It looks like you are all different too. I'm seeing a lot of shininess, a lot of sparkle right here. Beautiful. I invite you to look at the screen and look at each other right now. This is our group. This is our community here. This is our global community. I know I'm in Bali right now. I know Chelsea's in Mexico right now. I know some of you are in the US and other countries. We are all over the world doing this together. So take a moment. Oh, I'm seeing some people are in Germany. I love this. So just take a moment and look at who's here. And then in the chat box, please let us know where you're at. Let us know where in the world you are right now. I love this global community. Chelsea's in Tulum. We got some people in, from Canada, Atlanta. Yes, awesome. And I'm recognizing some of you. I'm like, I see you, Gigi. So good to see you. Oh, I see you, Brenda. So good to see you too. Oh my goodness. I remember Randall from before too. Awesome. These people from Detroit. Great. I'm so happy you're here. And if you are here, please turn on your video so we can see you. So this is a community. This is all about relationships, not only this festival, but especially right here, right now in this session. We're all going to be focusing on relating. So if you can, turn your video on so that we can see you. You can be seen and heard too. And then right now, as you're looking at the group, know that you're being seen. You're being seen and heard right now. Maybe not the audio, maybe you are being seen. You are welcome here. So great. Thank you. All right. I'm just catching my breath. Okay, so good. So today we are focusing on radical honesty. And I'm looking at your faces because I'm like, ooh, what's the vibe with this? And I'm seeing some people smiling and nodding, and I'm also like, is anyone scared? So I want to start with what radical honesty is not. I'm going to start with that before we get into what it is and what we're going to do with it and how it can impact us and change the world. So I really feel the need to say that radical honesty is not word vomiting and spewing stuff on people at will. That's not what it means. Radical honesty is not verbal abuse. Radical honesty is not it being only about you and any thought that you have that you just want to spray out unfiltered. So that is what it isn't. And we're going to get into very much what it is and how you can use it to your benefit and to the benefit of your relationships. So the first thing I would like to do is to bring more of ourselves online before we get into breaking down radical honesty and how to practice that within ourselves and within our relationships. And when I say relationships, I mean with your partner, with your family, with your best friend, in your community, at work, with your boss, anyone. I mean all your relationships, not just the intimate ones, all of them. So the first thing we're going to do is get more honest with ourselves. So how much of our time, when someone's like, hey, how you doing? We just go with the autopilot answer. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, not bad. Are we really being honest in that? No, we're not. We're conditioned to just give the programmed answer and move along. But we deserve more than that. We deserve to give more of ourselves attention and to welcome more of ourselves for ourselves and for the other people in our lives. So what we're going to do right now is to bring that welcoming sense to ourselves with honesty. And the way we're going to do this is with a 3-part check-in. If you've been to my sessions before, then you might remember this one. This is key. We've got to start the practice of radical honesty with ourselves. That's why we're starting here with this 3-part check-in. So I'm going to invite you to put this in the chat box. Let me tell you what we're going to do first. So we do this 3-part check-in to welcome ourselves to get out of the typical script of how are you doing and answering with a general fake answer. We want to get real right now. And we don't want to just like get real and talk about the mind stuff and like what the mind is holding and like, oh yeah, well, I'm just stressed because of work. And then we go into a story about that. We want to take it into deeper parts because there's more to us than just the pre-programmed answers and just like the mental stories that we might loop in a lot of the time. So we want to take it to the body. That's one reason we were just shaking and moving. So I'm assuming a lot of you, if you're like me, you can feel more of your body right now after moving it and breathing and shaking. So in the chat box, if you can tell me, tuning in with your physical body, what sensations are present for you? Sensations could be things like tingles. It could be things like heat or coolness, like warmth. It could be tension. It could be numbness. Please say what you're feeling in your physical body. It could be like, oh, I noticed a dull ache in my left foot. I noticed tension in my right shoulder. I feel this sense like there's butterflies in the middle of my chest. Anything like that, anything in your physical body where you're noticing, I notice a lot of heat in my torso, but I feel very cool, like a coolness in my feet and my hands. So we're just getting really real and honest. I know this is an unnatural, not actually so the most natural way to experience and share, but we're not programmed to do this. So it might feel a little bit funky, but I welcome you to just edge into that discomfort slightly and put it out here in the chat box. So I'm seeing some of your answers coming in. Tightness and tension in the lower back. I'm with you on that. I feel that too. A headache in the right temple, some tingle, some pressure, fullness in your belly. Nice. Empty stomach. Okay. Pressure in the chest, tingling fingers. Good. So keep it coming. If you haven't yet put it in the chat box, I welcome you to do that. And then the next part of this 3-part check-in, and you can close your eyes if it helps you to do this. The next is to really tune in with our heart space or our feelings, our emotional body. For me, it does help if I close my eyes and I bring my attention in my chest or in my belly, that area of my body. And I'm just asking myself, like, what emotions, what feelings are present? And the first thing that came to mind, it still sounds like a sensation, but it has an emotional feeling to it, which is my heart feels really full right now. I feel gratitude. That's what I'm feeling in my chest and my heart space. And I noticed that I was feeling nervousness and now I just feel excitement. And that excitement feels like expansive. So I welcome you to put those things into the chat box as well. And it's all welcome. It's okay, you can say, I feel really contracted. You know, I'm feeling like apprehensive about this. Anything is welcome. So putting that in the chat box. All pieces of you are welcome. That's why we're doing this. And then taking a breath in and out. We're going to the third part, which is, you can close your eyes if it helps. What's going on in your head? You can look at this kind of with a zoomed out view. In your head, does it feel organized, disorganized, cloudy, sharp? Just kind of notice the overall vibe of what's going on in your head. And then if you zoom in a bit, do you notice any thoughts that are recurring? Are you seeing or even hearing particular stories that are being recycled over and over? Just tuning in there. I'm noticing that I feel quite sharp in my head. It is morning here in Bali. I'm feeling a bit of pressure in my actual head. And I do feel organized in my head. And I notice the thought that I really want this to benefit. I want this session to be of benefit to all of you. That's what I'm feeling and hearing in my head. So I welcome you to put that into the chat box as well. Remember, all answers are welcome. And I invite you to read other people's answers as well, just to get a general sense of like what's really going on with people. So even when you're like, hey, how you doing? And you just get that, oh, I'm fine. Actually, this is the stuff that's really going on. If we were radically honest with ourselves and each other, these are some of the answers that we'd be hearing. So I know that, you know, the next time you're in line at the grocery store checking out and the cashier is like, hey, how are you doing? You might not want to give her the 3-part check-in. right? That might be a little awkward. But I encourage you to get real in that moment and be like, well, what can I say to her? And maybe you'll say like, yeah, I'm having a great day. I do have like a lot of shoulder tension today though. Bring it in, see what happens. You might be really surprised. She might feel so refreshed that you've given her a real answer. You might spark a connection. Or she might be like, oh, I do too. I actually have an essential oil that helps for that. You never know what might come from it. So I encourage you to bring a little bit more of yourselves even into those brief interactions. And of course, into your closer relationships as well. All right, so thank you for putting that into the chat box. And if you haven't yet, you're welcome to still do that. I'm still seeing your answers coming in. And let's take a moment. You can close your eyes if you would like. Before, when we checked in, we kind of did it in 3 parts. What we want to do right now is a little experiment. Can you be tuned in with all 3 of those levels of the check-in at the same time? So rather than just honing in just on one area, can you kind of give a little bit of attention to your body, your heart, and your mind simultaneously? Can you give your attention to your wholeness, your integrated self? All right, and take a breath in and let it out. Whew, exhaling it out. Okay. You're welcome to bring your attention back to the group, back here right now. So when we talk about radical honesty, and we've just practiced it just within ourselves and right here with our group, the question is, why don't we practice radical honesty more? Like, it feels good, right? Doesn't it feel good to share yourself? Doesn't it feel good to be real about what's going on? Have you ever had a moment where something had been building up and you finally like let it out and maybe told your friend, and then it comes out and you're like, oh, I feel so much better now that I've said that to you. Thank you for hearing me. Oh my God, I'm not alone in this. Like, if you've had that experience, I welcome you to raise your hand. And also, we do this thing called resonance fingers. We wiggle our fingers like this, a little bit like you're playing piano. You can do that at any time, honestly, during the whole festival, just to signal like, I hear you, I feel you, I get you, I'm with you in that, I'm resonating. You can do this at any moment. It's just a nonverbal way that we can say, hey, I get you, I feel you, thank you. So if you've ever had a moment of that where you finally like let it out, it feels so good. It feels like liberating. It feels like whole. It feels like you're being authentically you and expressing yourself. And it feels extra great if someone can catch you or be there with you in it, right? So if it feels that good, and also is natural for us to do that, why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we doing it? So we can look at this issue like culturally, why are we not doing it? We can look at this in our families. Like, I know in one half of my family, they don't say anything about anything. They hold it in and hold back so much. Why is that? You know, what's going on there? Why do we do this? So the thing is, whether we look at this culturally or in our family or just even within ourselves, the thing is, we have to look at the energetics and the belief systems that we are all programmed with. We all have these programs that hold us back. We all do. And so I just want you to think of a time. For me, I can think of this immediately, but I'll give you a couple examples in case something doesn't pop into your head right away. I know for me, when I was growing up, my mom would tell me, if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. Did anyone else hear that? I'm seeing nods. Yeah, hands up. Yeah. So of course, if I'm told that as a small child onwards, of course I'm going to hold back. Of course, I'm not going to always speak my mind and share my heart, because I'm told unless it's sugar coated and super sweet, you better not fucking say it. That's what that message is saying. So then, of course, I'm not going to be radically honest. Of course, I'm not going to be authentically me all the time. I've learned from a very young age, I've got to hold back. I have to present myself in a certain way. That's just how I have to be if I want to be accepted as a person and a human. So I'm just going to ask you right now, are there any programs that you've heard like that? Maybe you heard that same one, but are there any other things you can imagine maybe your parents telling you? Maybe, you know, if you grew up in a church or at school, that the leaders or your teachers were telling you, like, if you can just think of any of those programs that might pop in your head that taught you either to hold back or not be totally yourself, I invite you to put that in the chat box. Yeah. Right. I'm hearing people say, like, I don't want to burden others with my problems. Right. Yeah. I feel that too. And that does come up a lot. One area we can go into, and we'll do this together right now. Oh, I like that. Snitches get stitches. Right. I've heard that too. So you don't want to like tell on somebody. You don't want to lie. Yeah, only speak when spoken to. Oh my God, right? Only speak when spoken to. What is that training us to do? Children should be seen, not heard. Okay, that just breaks my heart to hear that. I've heard that before, and I used to be a school teacher, so I'm just like, no, crushing. But these are the things that we are programmed with. So we can have some understanding and compassion of why we do the things we do, why we do hold back. Right now, I want to ask you to get a little bit more specific. So we're talking about some of these general programs. One way we can really pinpoint and spot some of these internal belief systems or these limiting beliefs is to ask ourselves and think about this question. So if you want to close your eyes, I invite you to do that. Think about a recent conflict that you had. This could be with a friend, a boss, your mom. Think about a recent conflict. It could even be ongoing right now. Think about how you acted and reacted in that conflict. For example, let's say that conflict turned into an argument. Were you rushing to get the other person to understand you and your perspective? Did you feel like that pressure and that heat of like, I've got to get the word and I've got to say this? Or did you feel tension and clam up and go silent and withhold your feelings, holding back, not telling the other person how you felt? Maybe you were silent and that came off as silent treatment. Maybe you kind of ignored their text messages or calls after that. Just think about how you've been reacting and acting when you feel tension and conflict in relationships. If you give some attention to that, you can start to really see how those programs can play out. I notice for me, because I do have some programming that says if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. I notice that when I have a point, my natural tendency is that when I have a point of conflict with someone, I want to withdraw. I want to pull away because I feel like, oh, I need to make sure, that I have the appropriate thing to say before speaking, and I don't want to like hurt someone with my feelings, so I'm going to hold them back because that's what's going to keep me safe and keep this relationship safe. I'm seeing some people nodding on that one, so I don't think I'm alone in it. So you can notice, and you can have more than one kind of tendency. I have tendencies sometimes where I'm holding back and other times where I'm going forward and jumping in and being a little bit more like a tiger, a little more aggressive. So I can go both ways. A lot of us can do that. I'm seeing some people saying like people pleasing tendencies. Yep, that's a really common one. Yeah, holding back. Some people feel like they get clammed up, feel tension and clam up. I'm seeing your comments in here. Thank you. So just notice what you do. The reason that we want to give this attention, the reason why in my coaching practice I have an entire pillar, I have 3 main pillars, and one of them is completely dedicated to energetics and limiting beliefs. And it's because it completely colors what you do and how you show up in every single one of your relationships. It has that much influence on you and your relationships. So we can't just pretend it's not there, but there are things we can do about it. We can acknowledge what those programs are, and we can change them. And there's a variety of ways we can change them. So if you think of any other ones, I invite you just to keep putting it out here. Again, this is radical honesty time. Put it in the chat box. Some of the other main issues that we have by the time we're adults and we've gone through so many hurts and fears and have all these angers that are built up, we can have unconscious beliefs that say things like, I don't really trust people. I can't tolerate criticism. Deep inside, I don't believe I'm worthy. And I'll never let myself feel hurt again. So if you have resonance with any of those, you can also put it in the chat box and just allow this to be a little bit of a space to like let it out and be seen and heard in that. Yes, walls that we don't know we have, exactly. That's what limiting beliefs are. That's what these programs are. So again, anytime it comes up and you're recognizing throughout the session it's there, put it into the chat box. So when we have these beliefs, they can create the system where we're withholding. Like we said, we hold back, we don't speak our truth, or we get so pinned up that we like lash out in an aggressive way. Either way we go, it's not working for us and it's not working for our relationships. Think about times where you got pent up, you got so frustrated, you got so upset with someone that you went into a blame spiral. Maybe you're pointing your finger at them. Maybe you're just gossiping behind their back and telling your friends, like, oh my gosh, she's so terrible, she did this thing to me. Or you're saying it directly to her, but you're blaming her, right? You're blaming him or her. That can be a thing. If you've done that, go ahead and admit it right here in the box because you're not alone. I'm going to name 2 other ways that we often withhold and project. And the second way is that we numb out. You can numb out by distracting yourself. A lot of people like to numb out by drinking maybe a glass of wine or 3. You can numb out in lots of different ways, but it means that you're ignoring what's there and you're trying to desensitize your body because you don't want to feel that tension or you don't want to feel that pain. You don't want to address it. So you find different ways to distract or numb out. And the third way is power struggles, which usually end up in fighting with someone. So anytime this comes up in your life, anytime you find yourself blaming, numbing out, or in a power struggle, meaning in a fight, whether it's happening in your head or actually verbally happening in a fight, there's something that you can ask yourself. This is where your choice point comes in. And the choice point is, do you conceal or reveal yourself? Do you conceal or reveal yourself? We're going to practice revealing ourselves. We're going to practice a really good way to do it. Okay, so the first thing you can do is actually what we've already done in the very beginning. Anytime that you feel that you're starting to numb out or blame or go into a cycle where you feel like you're fighting with someone, you can pause and check in with your body. Feel your body, do that 3-part check-in. That's the first thing that you can do. And then you can reveal that to the person that you're talking to. You can say, whoa, I just noticed, like, as we're talking about this, I feel so much tightness in my chest. I feel like my temperature just rose. I'm having a hard time staying focused because this is a lot for me right now. I invite you to do that. That is the first thing that you want to do. Reveal what's happening in your body. Don't play it cool. Don't put up a front like you're all good inside. Reveal it to yourself and reveal it to the person that you're with. That's the first thing you can do. The second thing, and we're going to be practicing this in breakout rooms in just a moment. We're going to practice owning our experience using I statements. That helps us avoid blaming. So it's going to be I feel and I notice. And then we're going to name the sensations that are going on in the body. In a moment, we're going to go into breakout rooms. And we're going to do a little bit of a role play and revealing with the group. I'm just going to check on numbers here. So great. Okay, cool. Just looking at all of you. All right. So we're going to go into a group. Ideally, we'd have about, it could be 3 or 4 people. Just letting, okay, 4 is great. Cool. Thank you, Melanie. And what we'll do is when you go into this group, first you can just say hi to each other, do a round where you share your name and where you're from. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing you're gonna do is you're gonna imagine like almost like you're sitting in a circle. You're gonna do rounds, okay? The second thing, you're gonna go back in for the second round. The second round is where you reveal what's going on inside of you. Okay, kind of like what we did in the chat box, but I want you to speak it out. So revealing sensations, emotions, thought patterns that you have right here and now. That could be, oh, I'm just noticing like I'm sweating. I notice that like I'm smiling a lot, whatever you're noticing. So it will start with I notice. Okay, and then you're gonna pause after everyone shared. And then the third thing that we're gonna do is a little bit of a role play. So what we're going to do, actually, I'm going to have you go into the group and share that way. And then we'll come back and I'll give you the next role play instructions just to make sure it's really clear. So again, the first round, just sharing like where you're at, your name, letting people in on where you're from. The second part is revealing what's happening inside of you. And if you still have time, you can go in for another round of that, because some groups might have a few more people than others. So we'll give you a little extra time. So you can keep sharing, like circling around and being like, okay, now I noticed, and then share what's alive in you and share what you notice. Remember, it's the body, what's going on in your body, what's going on in your heart, which is feelings and emotions, and what's going on in your head. And just allow yourself to be really radically honest. Say the things that you normally wouldn't admit to somebody, especially someone you just met. We're going to do that for a couple minutes, have about 3 minutes or so, and then we're going to come back to the group, and then I'll give you some directions on how we can role play so that we're bringing more of ourselves into our existing relationships and our next relationships. Okay, is that all good? Are we good, Melanie? Are we good, Chelsea? I'm looking at the group. Okay, cool. Some of you might not have some people with their video on. Hopefully everyone who's in the breakout room does turn their video on and participate. That's my hope for you. And I'll see you back here in a few minutes. Yeah, I like I like this. I would love to hear from one or two of you about how that felt to be sharing with a partner or partners in that kind of way, where you're talking about what's going on in your body, what's alive. If you could raise your hand, if you want to put your voice into their main space, you raise your hand. Cool. I'm seeing Stephanie's hand up. And Stephanie, if you could unmute yourself and then share with us, like, how did that go for you? What did it feel like to do that and to share that way?
Okay, so that's who I am, is Stephanie. And what I found was that was very exciting now, because I've been doing this work for very many months on a really hard basis. But to have a group of people so here's the answer. So I found that, oh, so this is how you would see how you feel. Because I often think to myself, how the fuck do I know how I feel? I mean, I must feel somehow. What the hell do I feel? But to have it broken down nice and easy, like, well, what does your mind think? Well, how does that feel? And then to listen to the answers and hear, like, oh, I could imagine how that could be. Oh, I could imagine how that could be. So it was a really wonderful A plus, whatever you call it, event, exercise.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great.
Let me do it.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you so much I'm so happy that you've had that experience, that it gave you that access to your feelings, because absolutely sometimes we don't even know how we feel. So if we can have this shortcut, this direct access to be like, okay, how am I feeling? Body, heart, mind, boom. There we go. That can help us. And I love what you shared too, Stephanie, when you mentioned what it was like to share this way with other people and that it felt exciting. I've led literally thousands of people over the past 5 years in processes like these and trainings and in my coaching program. And this is what I hear the most. It's exciting. I feel so alive. I feel like the most me I've ever felt. I feel so connected to myself and other people, because when we share like this, when we relate to ourselves this way and share ourselves this way, that's the kind of that's what we create in our relationships: excitement, aliveness, realness, juiciness, authenticity. That's why we do this. That's why we do this practice. So thank you so much for voicing that, Stephanie. I'm open to hearing one more person if you'd like to share your experience of how it felt. And again, all is welcome. Maybe it was really scary for you. Maybe you felt nervous. Anything is welcome in the space. You're so welcome to share how that was for you. How did it feel? How did it go? If you want to raise your hand if you'd like to share. I'm just checking the group. Okay. I see Craig's hands. If you want to unmute yourself, Craig, you're welcome to.
Yeah, that's better, huh? Hello. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was it's the same thing when you meditate. You start with the root chakra of the body and go through, and that feels really good because we've been doing so much movement and stuff now that feel the blood flowing, and then the heart, which is awesome, and yeah, and then into the mind. So yeah, and doing with the group, I live in the mountains, so it's nice just to see a group.
Oh, great. Oh, I love it. Thank you,
Yeah,
Craig.
yeah,
I
thank
really
you.
like yeah, you're so welcome. I really like what you shared in terms of when you mentioned like meditation and how it can feel when you like kind of move through your body in meditation. And I very much see that similarity. That's why there's so much emphasis on like the energetics, because it's really taking those practices, mindfulness, yoga, meditation that we do just with ourselves, and then getting the benefit of that and sharing that with other people and letting our relationships benefit from those practices. So it's not just for ourselves, we're letting that spill over into our relationships. So in just a moment, we're going to go back into a group, but we're going to actually be with a partner so that you have a little bit more time to speak. And what we want to do, just switching my view here. Okay. What we're going to do in this next exercise is give you a space where you can practice radical honesty and revealing instead of concealing. So we just did that within our own bodies. But you know how a few minutes ago I was asking you to think about like a conflict situation, like a situation where you might feel tension, or maybe you've had a recent fight with someone? I want you to think about that again, something or someone that you've had a little bit of an upset with. And let's not go for the 10 out of 10 here. Let's not go for like the worst case fight that you've had, like the biggest, hugest fight. But if you could think of a more low level one, that's something like a 3 or 4 out of 10 on the intensity level. So this might be a little tension with a coworker or with your boss. Maybe, someone said something, it's not sitting right with you, but you haven't vocalized it. Anything like this, just where you're noticing a bit of tension or feeling a bit off, you're not in harmony and congruency with that person. And you might notice different reactions that have come up, like maybe you pull away, or maybe you feel short-tempered with that person and impatient and irritated by them. Whatever it is, whatever that low intensity issue is, just bring that to mind. When we go into our partner group, you're going to have a chance to role play out how you're feeling as if you're talking to the person you have an issue with. So with that issue in mind and the tension that happened, you're going to reveal what's happening inside of you. So for example, I had a little bit of like a recent, this happened about 2 weeks ago. I had this off moment with the man I'm seeing, the man I've been dating. And at first I kind of held it in, and then I actually had to do this practice where I came to him and then just kind of revealed, hey, I noticed when we were out the other night and you walked away to go talk to someone else, I felt in that moment, and then I could reveal what I was feeling. I felt like my heart went from feeling really connected to shut down. I went from feeling like, oh, we're here together, to like, oh, I feel like I'm alone right now. And then I shared a little further, like what came up for me in those moments. So that's what you're going to have the opportunity to do. So I just want to clarify, when you're practicing this, you don't have to talk about the story very much. The goal here is just to let some of those feelings that might have been stuffed down or put off to the side, it's letting those be revealed to someone who's not involved with the situation. So you kind of have this like permission slip to let it out right now, and not to let it out in an angry, aggressive, abusive way, not to let it out by blaming someone and pointing fingers, but to let out your feelings, because your feelings matter. Your feelings matter. That's why we're doing this. You matter. The way you feel matters. So it doesn't matter if the story, if someone's convinced and validates the story of what happened. It's just to get into the feelings. So if I were to go in, let's say Chelsea and I went into a room and I had that story in mind of what happened with the guy I'm seeing, I don't even have to tell Chelsea what happened, but I'm going to speak to Chelsea for about 30 seconds or so. And I'm going to pretend I'm talking to him instead of Chelsea. And I'm going to, if you haven't yet met your partner, please introduce yourself first and say hello for the first second. So, hi, Chelsea. Hello. How you doing? And then like, oh, I'm up to go first. Like, I'm up for that. Is that cool? Okay. And then I'm going to go in and share. Okay. So I noticed the other night when we were out, my heart felt really contracted. I felt like I went from feeling really close to feeling really alone. And I noticed that brings up a lot of sadness in me. I feel the sadness like in my stomach and in my heart area. And I notice like there's like tears that want to come. Like I'm not crying, but I can just feel it here. So I'm revealing the feelings, I'm revealing what's going on in my body. That's what I'm doing. I'm not talking about the story and what happened, but I'm talking about how I feel, how I felt in that moment, and just letting that come out and be heard. If that's making sense and you get what I'm saying, if you could show me your resonance fingers. Okay, great. If you do have a question, you can pop it in the chat box or raise your hand. I'm just checking. Okay, so we're gonna go in. You're gonna be with your partner again. Introduce yourself, say hi for the first little bit. You know, say hi, where you at, how you doing? And then you decide who wants to go first. And that first person, you'll have about, let's say, a minute and a half. So again, we don't have time to go into the story, but we absolutely have time for you to go into how you feel, how you felt and how you feel, and really let it out. Admit it, like, oh, that hurt so much. Oh, I noticed I felt so defensive. Oh, I felt like the anger, I could just feel it bubbling up inside. Whatever, the things that you might normally say, let yourself go there and use I statements. I notice, I feel. I notice, I feel. And then share what's going on in your body, your heart, and mind. Okay, so each person will have roughly about a minute and a half to 2 minutes to share. I'll send a halfway point reminder so you know when like that first person should be wrapping up what they're sharing. Then take a breath, and then you'll move over to the second person and they'll share. And then we'll come back to the main group and hear from you how that went. Okay, I hope it goes well. I know there might have been some technical issues and the number of people in rooms and things like that, but with the tech issues aside, if you could put in the chat box how it felt to share this way, how it felt to role play out. I love this. Bella said, my sister and I were in the same breakout room. I love it. I'm really curious about how that experience felt. This could be something you and your sister practice together. But yeah, please put in the chat box how it felt for you. I also want to I put my Instagram account here in the chat box, because if you want to share with me how this went, and also especially if you have any questions about how to communicate your honest, radically honest feelings, especially when you're in a conflict or in a point of tension with someone. If you have any questions about that, please direct message me, and I'm so happy to share with you a little bit more about how to do that and give you some guidance there. I'm seeing people say that it felt really validating. She said, Brenda says, I felt very validated and supported. Hannah says it was liberating. Oh, I love that. Allison said, Renee, that was so beautifully said from your heart. Okay, I love this. It sounds like this is working really well, as I've found in my experience that it really does. So thank you so much, everyone, for sharing yourselves and being so willing to try these new things to better yourselves and better your relationships. Again, if you have any questions, find me on Instagram. It's been a pleasure again. Thank you, Emergence Festival. Thank you, Chelsea. It's so good to be here with all of you.
Stephanie, thank you so much. Can we all rub our hands together, generating some energy, and just give Stephanie some love and a big ashtahe.
Ashtahe!
Thank you.
Ashtahe!
Thank you so much. Sending you all big hugs and love from Bali.
Oh,
Love you.
You did a wonderful
Bye,
job.
everyone.